Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
Hey, I'm Kim Holderness.
And I'm Ben Holderness.
We host the Holderness Family Podcast every Tuesday.
You may know us from the silly videos that we make online.
Or a book about marriage called Everybody Fights.
Or as winners of season 33 of The Amazing Race.
Still can't believe that happened. Listen, we do a lot of stuff, but our podcast is our most favorite thing.
Yeah, because every week we get to sit down face to face, talk to each other about marriage, family, mental health, or just anything that we want to know more about.
Sometimes we have expert interviews, sometimes it's just us, but our goal is to bring some joy and laughter into your life every week.
Our other goal is that maybe you will learn something as well.
Right, so search the Holderness Family Podcast and check out our most recent episodes. We have one about staying organized with creators of the Home Edit.
And one about being diagnosed with ADHD as an adult.
We hope you'll join us.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
Hello, it's Dave here, and I'm with my wife, Cathy.
Hello, Dave. Very exuberant introduction.
I'm just excited we're back together. It's been too long.
Yeah, it's been a while since we went to the cinema together.
I mean, obviously, we live together and see each other every night, but as in, it's too long since we've been able to go to the cinema together.
I know.
So, you know, because you all know we have a baby, and it's hard to arrange these things. So the last few episodes have been us going with another guest. Or these kind of things, but we're here now.
We're here now.
It's you and me.
Dave's clearly had a few pints, and I clearly haven't.
Is it that obvious?
It's so obvious.
Oh my God!
But we're delighted because my dad's visiting. He's babysitting, and we're going to one of our favourite cinemas, which is the Light Cinema, which we love because we drink wine, we recline our seats.
I've already had a few. I'm sorry. I went for a few after work.
I don't think you should have more wine.
Is it? Do I sound really drunk?
No, but you will if you have wine in this film. So I'm going to have wine and a brownie, and you can sober up.
I'm going to
You're gonna
sit in the sober tank.
Yeah. You know what? You can get like a Coke or something for the caffeine, okay?
Okay.
Or like a cup of tea, because they do tea and coffee and stuff.
Hopefully when you next hear
Maybe
from
you
me,
should get a coffee.
I'll be a little less...
drunk.
What am I sounding like?
You're sounding mildly tipsy.
Am I slurring?
No, you're not slurring. And we're going to see Fighting With My Family, which I saw a trailer for when I went to see Instant Family. So very natural
You're all about family movies
and
now.
I'd never heard of it, and I saw the trailer, and I actually thought it looked really good. And Dave knows nothing about it except that I saw a trailer and thought it looked good. So Dave, what do you think this movie's about?
I don't know. The Rock's in it?
Yeah, The Rock's in it.
Stephen Merchant's in it.
Yeah.
Which instantly makes you think where's this movie set? Is it in the UK or is it in
I'm not telling.
America?
I've seen the trailer. We'll do after we...
I don't know what it's about.
When we come out of the cinema, we'll do a quick synopsis of it and we'll get straight into the review. But we better go because we are, as usual, running late. And I really want this brownie before the movie.
And I better have a coffee.
Okay. And Dave's going to get a nice coffee.
I'm sorry.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Sorry about that.
It's The Rock. We're huge fans.
Thank you so much.
What advice would you give us? We want to be the next you.
What are your names again?
My name.
It doesn't matter what your names are. You walk around here interrupting the Rock you like you haven't seen the sun in 20 years. You like you just stepped out of Oliver Twist. Please, sir, may I have some more advice, sir? You want some advice? Here's the Rock's advice. Shut your mouth.
Thanks, Dwayne.
You got it. Good morning, wrestling nerds. Well, this is where we see whether or not you get to go on to WWE.
This is our shot, Zach.
Hello.
Why do you want to wrestle?
I'm the toughest bastard in any room. Probably shouldn't swear, not when there's ladies present. Sorry, miss. Sorry about that.
If I call your name, that means you'll be coming with me to Florida. Paige. Thank you all very much.
You have to take my brother. No one deserves this more than Zach.
I wish you the best, son, but this is the end of the line for you.
Do you know what it's like to want one thing in life, and then your own sister takes it away from you?
It was my dream too.
I have no idea who I'm supposed to be out there.
You're not just doing this for you. You're doing it for the family.
Right. We saw Fighting With My Family.
Fighting for my family.
What? Fighting
for my family.
No, Fighting With My Family.
It's Fighting for my family.
Okay, it's Fighting With My Family.
Interesting.
And the people will know, because if you're listening to this, you can look at your phone and look at the title of this episode, which will have the correct title.
Okay.
And it is what I said.
And we'll settle this off pod. I decided if you
It's
can't...
fighting with my family.
If you can't beat them, join them. So we got a bottle of wine.
It's not called If You Can't Beat Them, Join. It's called Fighting with
my family. And we got a bottle of wine, but I thought we were both drinking it. Turns out Dave only had one glass. I had the rest of the bottle.
So now we're equally drunk. All right, I was a little drunk beforehand. Now you're probably quite drunk, but I'm probably topped up a little. So,
but I did eat
we're both quite drunk.
I did eat a hot brownie with ice cream on it, which was insanely delicious. So if you live near a light cinema, go get that brownie. And I had a massive thing of popcorn. So I think we've evened the odds out. It's one of those movies that
I'm feeling.
I don't think I've ever been this drunk on the podcast. I have to say, it's one of those movies that I really enjoy, but I don't know that I have that much to say about. And I actually tried to write a few notes down because I could feel my thoughts kind of
Let me look at your notes.
away.
Is it just like you mashing the keyboard? Does it make no sense?
Okay, this is what my notes
hang
says.
on, you wrote an essay.
I wrote loads of notes because I was like, shit, I'm going to forget. So, right, I have to say, from the off, just my initial impression after leaving the cinema is forgetting about brownies and wine.
Do you want to give a synopsis? Because before we went in, we didn't know what it was about.
Fighting for my family.
No, it's
is the movie.
Shut up. It's called Fighting with My Family.
We're shouting.
God.
We're shouting.
I'm sorry.
It's a movie about a young woman. She comes from a family of people who want to wrestle, and parents wrestle, brother wrestles.
She fights with them,
and she ends up kind of qualifying for the WWE training camp. And she goes off to LA, I guess, and
Florida,
and trains to be a WWE champion. It's based on a real story, and let's just say she's very successful, hence the movie being made, right? Because the movie wouldn't have been made otherwise. And so, yeah, that's kind of the plot. And she's from Norwich, and she's 18, so she's quite young. Now, I would say, the sentiment was lovely, and it was a lovely movie. I felt really good watching it. There was a training montage, I obviously cried during multiple parts of this movie, but I cry at a lot of movies, and obviously I drank a lot of wine. It's enjoyable, but ultimately...
Does wine make you cry, though? I don't think it does.
When I add wine to a biopic, yes, it makes me cry.
Yeah.
But ultimately, right, I really enjoyed it. I'm really positive, and I would say it's a lovely movie, but don't think you need to go see it in the cinema, and... It was a little bit flat, excepting the training montages, which were obviously lovely. Felt like a TV movie to me. It had all the good tropes. I'm reading from my notes here. It had all the good tropes of a good sports movie, so it hit the beats of a sports movie.
It's like you're reading someone else's review.
And this is what happens when I write down my review.
It's like you're reading the review of the sober Cathy.
This is what I wrote, okay? And I also was really trying to think, when was the last... Anyone who listens to us knows we're obsessed with Rocky movies. We love Rocky, we love Creed. I was trying to think, and the last and possibly only movie I've ever seen about wrestling was The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke, which is a movie I really enjoyed and was a very different side and was not about WWE. I kind of felt like this just had the classic issues of a biopic in that it was kind of trying to hit certain plot points. It was a bit cheesy.
It's biopic, not a biopic sounds like a medical procedure.
I think it's biopic or biopic. You can go with either. It's like tomato.
It's a biography, so it should be a biopic.
Okay, fine.
Biography picture.
Classic issues of biopics. I tend to find them a bit dull, and I found this a little bit dull. And ultimately, someone from The Bold and the Beautiful was in it, which is a soap opera. When it's an American soap opera, and when we lived in Australia, it was on.
You were obsessed with that.
I was obsessed.
Wait, was she called Paige in that?
I think she was called,
and that was the name of the main.
So the name of the wrestler,
movie, right?
the name of the wrestler from Norwich is Paige. And yes, I 100% agree with you that when that character, he was one of the main actresses in this. When she was in Bold and the Beautiful, her character was definitely Paige. Dave and I both watched too much Bold and the Beautiful, and we will agree to this now.
Don't drag me into your.
Anyway,
shame.
she was in it. So the fact that there was someone from a soap opera. My ultimate point is, it's a really enjoyable movie. Catch it when it's out. Don't go to the cinema to see it. Yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say about it. And then we'll get to spoiler shoot and we'll talk about plot points. And it's an interesting one because Stephen Merchant wrote and directed it. like he's in the trailer made it seem like Stephen Merchant and The Rock were the stars. I know you haven't seen the trailer. Every scene Stephen Merchant and The Rock are in the trailer, they're in the movie. They're essentially not in the movie. So don't go and see this movie if you want to see The Rock and you want to see Steve Merchant, because they're not in it.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the trailer.
Trailer's really good.
I was aware of some of the publicity surrounding this movie, and it's all Stephen Merchant and The Rock. But that said, The Rock is billed as he produced this movie, and Stephen Merchant wrote and directed. So they are the driving force of this.
But what's his face? Not
faces.
Simon Pegg guy, the other guy.
Nick Frost.
Nick Frost. He's the
Frost
dad.
plays the father.
Yeah.
And I'll say
Lena Headey from Game of Thrones, like Cersei. She's the mom.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun with this.
Same.
I thought it was really nice. It was sweet. I mean, I kind of can't fault what you said. I think it's there's not a lot to it. It's a really, really lovely story.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's a lovely story.
And I was with it the whole way, and I enjoyed it. But yeah, it's not. There's no surprises.
Because you're like, she has to be successful, or they're not making this movie.
Well,
right?
yeah, it plays out exactly as you'd expect.
To the point where I even anticipated the scene where she'd dye her hair and then dye it back again.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know when a makeover scene's coming.
But that's not to say that, like, I feel like it'd be unfair to criticize the movie for doing that, because it took, like, I think, credit to Stephen Merchant. It's a lovely story, and he brought it to life, like, perfectly. He brought it to the screen in a nice, neat way. I thought everybody was really sweet in it. I think Florence Pugh is the name of the main actress. I thought she was really good.
Yeah, she was really good.
I thought
she's a really good wrestler. She should be in the WWE.
Let's just say, I mean, the physicality that's involved in wrestling, I thought it really sold that, and the commitment, because I think is it professional wrestling? Is that how you describe whatever the WWE is, or whatever it's I'm gonna muck it up. The real fans will hate this, but like, it's all fake.
It's for show, right?
It's for show.
Well,
However,
they kind of said in this movie that, like, you don't have to be a wrestler to get into the diva squad. You can be like a cheerleader or a model or a dancer. You just need to be.
No, but that was used as a derogatory.
No, but it was also
term.
true, though.
It attracts those sort of people.
No, but it was also, like, it was true. Like, this particular character,
yeah.
she was fully trained as a wrestler from, like, a very young age. But the others were like, we weren't, and they learned it.
But I thought this movie sold well the sort of the level of commitment that it takes to do this thing, because it requires a huge amount of physicality, and also, like, it's not just, and Mickey Rourke's the wrestler did this as well. It's
Mickey Rourke's the wrestler was a lot more hardcore than this movie.
But just let me finish what I'm trying to say. It's not just being an actor with a big body, right? You've got to learn the moves. You've got to know
to
how
be very
to
fit physically.
No. It's not just that. You've got to know, and the movie addresses that at one point. It's like you've got to know how to react to somebody, and to. It's almost like a dance. It's you and a partner, and you've got to anticipate their moves and react to those moves so that neither of you gets injured. And that's a real craft.
Can we get to spoiler street, because I have some questions around the mechanisms of WWE, and I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, but I feel like
questions.
your questions are going to go unanswered, because what you think I'm going to know the answer to the mechanisms
I just want to put
WWE.
the questions out there, right, into the ether.
All right, look,
so
basically,
we both agree. We both enjoyed it. I reckon save your money and watch it, like, when it's out in Sky or whatever.
Yeah, look, I can't really argue with you. It's not particularly cinematic.
But honestly, if you're going to smash a bottle of wine, a brownie, and a packet of popcorn, I would say this is your movie. Honestly,
it's a nice movie.
And David Pizza, we are two people who never go out, because get us a grandparent over from Ireland and we will do the dog on that cinema trip. Like, we did everything right. We'd wine, we'd popcorn, we'd pizza, we'd brownies. Did we have anything else? No, but that's a lot. And we both reclined our seats at one point or another. So, like, we were going for it. And we were playing games beforehand, because they've, like, they've this game thing that you can play before you go in. Like, that was a night out for us, right? So the movie was the icing on the cake.
I gotta say, I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied. I had great fun.
Enjoyed the movie.
I enjoyed the movie.
But
it delivered exactly what I expected it to deliver.
Yeah.
And look, everyone was great in it. But like,
but if you're not so desperate for a night out as us, then you probably don't need to go to the cinema.
Yeah, it's nothing I haven't seen before. It doesn't.
I've just remembered in The Bold and the Beautiful, her name was Hope. It wasn't Paige. It was Hope. It was a one-syllable name.
All you Bold and the Beautiful fans have been screaming into your iPhones.
Right, okay, so now we're going to go to Spoiler Street. We're fighting for my family. And
are you maintaining?
I'm on Spoiler Street.
You're maintaining that it's called that till the bitter end.
Not till the bitter end.
You're going to be so disappointed.
Not till the bitter end.
When I edit this together.
One last thing we didn't mention was Vince Vaughn's in it, and his serious acting makes me laugh my head off.
No, strong disagree.
What? You don't laugh when Vince Vaughn's being serious?
No, I thought Vince Vaughn was great. I bought into Vince Vaughn 100%.
I'm not saying he wasn't great. I'm saying it makes me laugh. We've all seen that first episode of True Detective Season 2 and never watched any more of it, and it was really fucking bad.
Hang on, that's a separate issue. True Detective Season 2 was bad.
We've also all seen The Internship, which was the last movie Vince Vaughn was in.
Yeah, hang on. You take a step back, right? You take a step back from the podcast recorder, right?
Yeah.
Because first of all, it was called The Intern or something.
It's called The Internship.
Was it? Okay, whatever.
And him and Owen Wilson worked at Google. Yeah.
We all watched 20 minutes.
That's the last movie Vince Vaughn was in. I watched the whole thing.
No, it wasn't the last movie. Surely not. Was it?
He was in The Internship, and then he was in season 2 of True Detective.
The Internship
and now he's in
like
this movie.
12 years ago.
It wasn't, and now he's in this movie.
Anyway, you're wrong, because Vince Vaughn was great in this movie.
He was really good.
He was absolutely banging.
I'm not saying he wasn't good. I'm just saying it makes me laugh when he's being serious.
But what are you talking about?
Dave, his nickname was Sex Tape.
Shut up. That worked. That absolutely worked. I mean, it was great. I
just wish my nickname was Sex Tape.
No, of course.
Finding high-quality mental health care can be daunting and exhausting. That's why Cerebral offers convenient access to online mental health services, including therapy and medication management. Cerebral's diverse clinician team can help with anxiety, depression, insomnia, stress, grief, big life changes, and more. You can schedule and communicate with your care team through Cerebral's mobile app and attend your sessions from the comfort of your own home. Get started with or without insurance. Plus, you can now use FSA or HSA. Start your first month for 50% off at Cerebral.com/ACAST.
We all wish that our nickname was Sex Tape. Vince Vaughn was brilliant in this movie, and I think he should only ever play a grizzled old coach from now on.
Do we think that Vince Vaughn should be Oscar nominated?
No.
Or should he at least be like Golden Globe nominated?
But wait,
or at the very least, should he be nominated for a BAFTA?
How did you shut up? You cannot compare his performance in this, which is an actual serious role, to his performance in The Internship, which admittedly I've only seen 20 minutes of.
I've seen the whole thing, and he was this character.
No, he wasn't this character. It was just like him and Owen Wilson doing their same old shtick.
Yeah.
That's phoning it in. This is him.
His nickname was Sex Tape, okay?
This is him. He's still phoning it in, but he's present.
We need to go to Spoiler Street, because I need to get home to go to bed. Alright, so Spoiler Street. First of all, there's a scene where she dyes her hair, right? She's got dyed black hair, and then she dyes her hair peroxide white blonde. That's actually impossible. That's impossible. Let me say this now.
Oh, really?
For someone on her own, in a bathroom, with like a box of cheap like drugstore hair dye. That's impossible. To go from black to white blonde, you would need to be in a hairdresser's for at least 8 hours getting your hair stripped. So no, Stephen Merchant, I didn't agree with that plot point. Ooh. Secondly, it was really interesting what they explored in this movie. I genuinely found it interesting, the idea of parents who are so focused on a career for them and a career for their kids that from the age of 3, they said the son was basically training and dreaming of this career, and from the age of 13 the daughter was. And I found it really upsetting to think of a situation where you would put so much pressure on your own kid to want and train for a certain career that if they don't succeed in it like her brother didn't, they have nothing else going for them and they feel like they can't do anything else. And I thought that was quite interesting, and I would have enjoyed that being explored a bit more. And like there was a really nice line that I wrote down after they said it, because I really wanted to remember it, around like, you know, I got the impression all of this only happened a couple of years ago, because they're talking about like Twitter, and it felt quite recent, about chasing fame. And like on a total side note, my sister's an English teacher, and a couple of years ago she did like a careers kind of thing with her kids, where they all had to say what they wanted to be when they grew up, and loads of them said they wanted to be famous. And my sister was like, oh, but famous for what? Like, do you want to be a singer? Do you want to be an actor? And they were like, oh no, I just want to be famous. And like that was like really like fascinating to me, that would just be someone's goal. And in this movie, God, now I've lost it where I wrote it down. Oh yeah, the sister who's made it to the WWE and the brother who hasn't, but the brother's like, by all accounts, this amazing coach, and he's like doing this amazing work. And she says, just because millions of people don't cheer when you do it doesn't mean it's not important. And I thought that was a really cool line.
Yeah, I like that.
But yeah, anyway, like there was loads of stuff I enjoyed, so I'm really not being negative. But it's just like a nice average movie.
I thought the brother's plot,
the brother was brilliant.
He was very good, and he's also called Zach in real life, the actor, because I just IMDb'd him. But
interesting fact.
Fun fact. But his plot, while it, you know, you saw it, like it was laid out like from the very beginning where he was going to end up, where the whole thing was going to end up.
I mean, there was no way that brother was getting in.
There wasn't a single surprise in this movie. However, I thought he played it really well. So did she, and the and yeah, it was quite sweet. It was just sweet. I liked it.
I loved the brother.
I liked the message. I liked him.
I liked his arc.
Yes, and he had a really lovely moment.
But then it annoyed me because fine, he's got a young baby and he's got this whole arc going on. A bit like Creed had in the last Creed movie. Spoilers for Creed 2, where he like has a new kid, but he's so focused on himself trying to wrestle that like basically his ultimate character arc, and is at the end he's like happy to be a dad and happy to support his partner, but like, you know, we kind of get the impression at this point the kid's like 6 months old, and I would be like, fuck you spent the first 6 months of this child's life having your own shit going on. And they showed a scene where he's like drinking a can of Carling while the child like lies on the floor crying, and that's actually a pretty dark scene, and I felt like they glossed over it a bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was real stuff or if that's just like liberties taken by the movie to kind of develop his arc a bit. But I thought if it was real stuff, it wasn't probably handled in the most like sensitive way, because actually that stuff's really dark, and they just kind of glossed over it. And in the end, he's the best dad ever, and he's like hugging the kid while his sister wins.
I mean, look, it's this movie is fluff, really. At the end of the day, like it presents itself in so many ways. It's interesting because it presents itself when you see scenes of like Norwich in England, and then it contrasts itself with Florida in America, and to WWE, and to Paige, who I've forgotten her real name, because the movie itself forgets her real name. Like, she gets lost in the identity that she's created, which I think is an interesting sort of...
She has 3 names in this movie.
Thing. Yeah, and like, can you remember her original name? No. But basically, what I'm trying to say is...
Shh, it's really loud.
What I'm trying to say is, like,
we're on a very quiet residential
street,
screaming about this movie.
Despite what a grounded setting Norwich is, and occasionally when you're there, it feels quite grounded. The movie, because it plays out in such a predictable, sort of sentimental way, it always feels like a movie. And I hate to bring the name Ken Loach into this, because it doesn't really feel appropriate.
It's really not appropriate.
But as a contrast, like, Ken Loach's movies are actual reality.
Dave, this is a movie about someone who goes into the WWE.
Isn't. Yeah, yes, but my point is that it never felt like a real person's story of success, because it just felt like we were watching, like you said at the beginning, a TV movie. Like, I knew from the very beginning where we were going to end up, and I knew all the character beats. And that's not to say I didn't enjoy it along the way, because there's a lot to be said for that journey. We've seen this journey, we've been in this journey, and I enjoyed this journey, and here I am, a little bit drunk and
here
happy.
you are, keep saying the word
However, have I experienced anything differently? No. And the only I gotta say, the only part of this whole experience that I actually felt like a bit of interest or value in was in the end credits.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
When they showed the real life footage of these people. And that made me think, do you know what? I would have sat here and I would have watched a documentary about those people, and I would have been more invested. Because you forget, because as soon as you add producer Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to this, and it gets all the Hollywood sheen, there's a little bit of detachment. You get detached from the very beginning, which is a true story.
Was The Rock really involved with her career? I guess he must have been, or he wouldn't have signed on for this movie.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess he must have been really involved.
Yeah, but did he have that moment where the sex tape coach brings her to the door and says, "You need to go into this room, but I'm not going to tell you who's in this room, but you just wander in there."
Look, my name's Sex Tape. I'm sending you into a room now. You've nothing to worry about, okay?
Isn't that actually a little bit creepy if you take a step back?
I don't quite believe it.
Your coach is called Sex Tape. You're an 18-year-old girl. He takes you to a room and he says, "Go in there," and he closes the door behind you, doesn't tell you where you're going, and then a strange man appears.
Well, also it's strange because The Rock's telling her that she's gonna, she's not even graduated from wrestling training camp, right? And The Rock hold on, we're gonna phone your parents. And he kind of tells the parents over the phone that, she's going to play the Diva World Champion
tomorrow. That was a nice moment. I like that.
Yeah, but actually, no. Because I thought, well, she's a grown woman. And, much like if someone's getting married, I don't think that the first thing that should happen, necessarily, is that the father's approval is sought before, the girl's approval is. In this instance, I thought, well, shouldn't you actually tell the girl before you phone her parents? Because she's not a girl, she's a woman.
No, look,
she's there off her own bat.
You're still sore because of that moment when The Rock rang your parents and told them that I had asked you for your hand in marriage. And look, you've got to get over it, all right?
I will never get over that moment.
That's The Rock's MO. He does that for everyone.
I know.
He breaks.
But did he do that in real life?
To their parents.
Did that scene happen? We need a Wikipedia. Secondly, this is where we both got confused.
We need a Wikipedia.
She won. So she won the title, right? But all along in the movie, they were saying that all of the games were predetermined and you always knew who was going to win. But then they implied, we have to be quiet because we're walking down the street and it's really late.
This is our road.
They implied that the ending of this fight wasn't predetermined, and I thought actually maybe the finale isn't predetermined because that would make it really boring for the audience, because they kind of implied she won it out of nowhere and it wasn't expected. But they should have made that clear in the movie, because it's not fair in a movie to tell us that things are predetermined and then make it like it's a massive surprise when somebody wins.
I totally agree with you.
So I completely disengaged and thought it was dumb.
And we could probably go and look it up now.
I'm going to look it up now.
But in the meantime, why don't our listeners just write in and tell us the truth?
Just tell us. I have to say, as a kid, I didn't care for sports. I've never cared for sports my whole life. But when I was younger...
Yeah, but you were into wrestling.
That's what I was saying.
I loved wrestling.
For no reason, just because everyone else in school did it. I collected wrestling cards with chewing gum and stuff, and was obsessed.
Who was your favourite wrestler?
Hulk Hogan was obsessed.
Hulk Hogan,
to the point where I misunderstood and didn't
The Undertaker as well.
I didn't really understand what fancying someone was, because I was quite young. So I decided that I fancied Hulk Hogan, and I made my mom bring me to see The Nanny. And I was like,
no, Mr. Nanny.
Mr. Nanny. And I was like,
we should do a
my
cinemile
God.
on Mr. Nanny.
Oh my God, I love Hulk Hogan. He's so attractive. Mom's like, no, like seriously, you don't. I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm in love with him. And I genuinely
You're like, no, Mum, have you seen his handlebar mustache?
So
You
I
are
used to have,
clearly
like,
mistaken.
stickers of Hulk Hogan in my bedroom. Like, I don't know why. Just because I was like obviously trying to get in on like whatever everyone else in my class is doing. So it's the only sport I very, very, very briefly followed as a child.
Is it a sport? Is it a sport if you have determined the outcome?
Well, this is what we don't know because this movie implies that the outcome wasn't determined.
Okay, so I would describe it.
Match.
And I'm sure other people have had this debate. We're not the first
really
ones
being
to-
boring. We need to get off now.
I would describe it as performance art. That's how I would see it. And I think it's a really like crazy physical performance, and it's like it requires an immense amount of talent. And I have a huge respect for everyone who does professional wrestling. But is it a sport? I don't think you can describe it as a sport. Yeah, spectacle feels better. Yeah.
Well, no, I think
it's not a sport if you know the outcome. Like you can't have Andy Murray show up to Wimbledon and you know he's going to win. It's not sport.
Well, but this is my point. I don't think the end was predetermined.
Yeah, but
then Vince Vaughn said when he was sex taped, The Rock threw him 30 meters off the platform.
Cathy, stop. His wrestling name wasn't Sex Tape. He was called Sex Tape because he made people famous as a coach.
He says that The Rock
wasn't like The Rock versus Sex Tape.
It said that The Rock, when The Rock was a wrestler, he threw sex tape 30 foot off a balcony.
His name wasn't Sex
He threw sex tape Vince Vaughn 30 foot off a balcony to make The Rock look good and make sex tape look bad.
Yeah.
So that implied like a level of spectacle, right? But anyway, we've completely digressed. We need to go. I need to go to bed.
Yeah, look, let's go home.
Thank you everyone for listening. Apologies, it's probably the worst review we've ever done.
It's your fault because you're so drunk.
I'm not that drunk, excuse me.
You're embarrassing
I'm
yourself.
not embarrassing myself because I had very good notes on this movie. Right. And I will never, ever, ever forget to say this. If you like this podcast, we ask one tiny thing. We won't ask you to pay for the podcast.
Are you going to ask them to unsubscribe?
All we
from
ask
our
you to do
podcast?
is go to Apple Podcasts, hit subscribe and leave us a review. And actually a couple of people left us reviews in the last few days, which is really nice and we always appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Seriously, we love hearing from you guys, and we're so sorry that we're so drunk.
Dave, we're really not that drunk.
Are
you? I think Dave's drunk.
We're please at the Cinemile.
Yeah.
We're Twitter. We're Instagram at the Cinemile.
Yeah.
Please.
And Dave, you need
if you
to go
talk
to, bed
to
now.
us,
please tell us what the fuck's going on with WWE because already I've forgotten and I won't Wikipedia it as much as I said I would. And thank you, Dad,
Goodbye.
for babysitting. Bye.
Thanks, Jimmy.
What? It's Dwayne Johnson. How are you?
Prove it.
If you smell what The Rock is cooking.
Yeah, and I'm Vin Diesel, mate.
I'm sorry.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
Hey, I'm Kim Holderness.
And I'm Ben Holderness.
We host the Holderness Family Podcast every Tuesday.
You may know us from the silly videos that we make online.
Or a book about marriage called Everybody Fights.
Or as winners of season 33 of The Amazing Race.
Still can't believe that happened. Listen, we do a lot of stuff, but our podcast is our most favorite thing.
Yeah, because every week we get to sit down face to face, talk to each other about marriage, family, mental health, or just anything that we want to know more about.
Sometimes we have expert interviews, sometimes it's just us, but our goal is to bring some joy and laughter into your life every week.
Our other goal is that maybe you will learn something as well.
Right, so search the Holderness Family Podcast and check out our most recent episodes. We have one about staying organized with creators of the Home Edit.
And one about being diagnosed with ADHD as an adult.
We hope you'll join us.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.